All right, wonderful, my friends. Yesterday, I gave you a short view. Yesterday, I went on a vacation a little bit with my parents, with my parents, with my family, my wife, my children, grandchildren. It was really wonderful. We went, by the way, to Haifa, and it just happened that they opened to the public this what's it called? Like one of these ski lifts. Not a ski lift. I can't know. Anyway, it's like on a cable car. Cable cars that one. They just opened it up. So it was really very nice. It was really very nice. The kids they jumped in, they jumped out. It takes like about 20 minutes, and they saw. It's not as impressive as the one in Switzerland. I was there in Switzerland, but in Switzerland, what do you see when you're up there in the? You see Switzerland. You see a mountain, you see a hill, you see a river, you see a waterfalls. Oh, look at that! What's that? What is that you see? It's a river. What is that? That's a river. That's a waterfall. It's a mountain, and another mountain, and another waterfall, and another river. Ooh, look at that river. It's flowing this way. It's flowing that way. The most boring thing, if you ask me, in the world. Here, you're looking at Israel. I can't explain it, but it's just beautiful. The mountains are you know 20 times smaller than this, and the waterfalls, now it's summer, there's no waterfall. But for some reason, okay, maybe I'm just how do you say, biased and everything, but nevertheless, I really enjoyed it. The kids really enjoyed it. Okay, here we go. What did we learn yesterday? Yesterday we learned that the Moshiach is already here. Excuse me, just getting over this thing, God willing. Some of the readers, some of the listeners here give advice. So, I mean, I don't take the advice, but I really appreciate it. I really appreciate the advice. And it's called good advice. The advice comes from the heart. So the heart is worth more than the advice is, even if the advice is right. Okay. So the Rebbe said that the Mashiach is already here, but the redemption is definitely not here. And we can't figure out, says the Rebbe, I can't figure out what's going on. Right? I can't figure out what's going on. Why is it that the redemption has not come? Why is it that the Mashiach has not yet made the big changes in the world? And it is supposed to. So the Rebbe said, I can't figure it out. The fact is that the Mashiach spoke to the Baal Shem Tov. And he said, the Mashiach said to Baal Shem Tov, I will come. The Baal Shem Tov asked the Mashiach, when are you going to come? And the Mashiach said, I will come when your teachings, your well springs, are spread out to the farthest corner, chutza, outside, the farthest places. People have to understand what God is. People have the wrong idea what God is. They think that God is some sort of a big ATM machine or something. You do what it says in the book and you get heaven. It's not so. So you have to educate everybody what God is, that God is creating everybody right now unconditionally. God loves everybody. Everyone is good. But we have to improve the world. We're here for a purpose. It's not good enough just to show up to work and say, here I am, I'm here. Okay, now get to work. Here I am. Okay, very good. I see you're here. Now get to work here. Do it again. Here I am. It's not enough just to be here in the world. You have an obligation. Everyone does. And that makes you happy. If you sit around doing nothing, or if you do the wrong thing, so you're not really happy. Okay. So the Rebbe said, if so, that's what Chassidut teaches. It teaches what God is and what our responsibility, each human being is precious to God. Each human being, without exception, is being created every single instant brand new by God and being empowered by God to do the responsibility for which he was created. Every single human being. But people have to be informed of that, and that's what a Chassidut does. When a person learns the teachings of the Rebbes of Chabad, it fixes them up automatically fixes them up 1%, 2%. He hears these ideas, a 0.5%, but at least there's something there. A little life raft gives you a little hope. Lifesaver. Life jacket. That's what they call it. So the Rebbe said, okay, the only thing I can figure out is maybe the one place where Chassidut did not reach is blind people. So therefore, now there's a new thing in our days that the book the Tanya has been written in Braille. By means of this Nifal Chidush, there's a new thing in spreading out Judaism. And I know people that, God forbid, they can't see. May God give them a quick healing. And they have Braille, and now they can. I remember I once saw an interview with Ray Charles. Anybody have any idea who Ray Charles is? Anyway, what's a big rabbi talking about Ray Charles? I loved Ray Charles. Oh man, I remember the first time I heard Ray Charles. Anyway, so Ray Charles is blind. Ray Charles was blind. So they asked him in an interview, the interesting thing about Ray Charles that he didn't use a cane. He had some sort of thick shoes or taps on his shoes, whatever. And when he would walk, he would hear the sound from the echo from his shoes or whatever it was. He could hear what he was going. Yeah, it's really amazing. A talent like that. Anyway, so they asked him if he would. He was a famous rock and roll singer. In the way he began the whole thing, it was famous. So he was blind. So they said, "Would you like to see?" He said, "Well, I would like to see for maybe an hour, half an hour, and then that's enough. I get along pretty good the way I could just see, I could see my family, see his children. I'd like to see." He was a person that he could see when he was young. He could see it till he was 10 or something like that years old. So the fact of the matter is, to see is a wonderful thing. But if you can't see, you can get along. But not being able to see spiritually, or if you want to call it deeply existentially, it's not a sort of a nice word, existential. You don't know why you're here. You have no idea what you're doing here. So that's really being blind. And even if you can just see for an hour, half an hour, still you get oriented. Right? It's a whole different. So that's the idea of Chassidut. If the ideas of Chassidut are advertised even to the people who are blind, it gives them a whole different attitude toward life, a whole different orientation toward life. It gives you a whole new pack of responsibility and obligations in the world. And I know I've said this 100 times, and I'll say it 100 more times. There's no bigger gift that can be given to a human being than responsibility. When a person feels he's responsible, he feels he has meaning to his life. He's got a reason to wake up in the morning. Someone's waiting for him. It's an important thing that he's doing. Right? That gives a purpose. Like, for instance, the Rebbe was very, 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 very against retirement. Unless you're retiring to do something, a new project or something. But retiring for the sake of retiring because you're tired, you want to go down to the, sit by the sea or whatever and sip, cocktails on. That's not the life. Not life. So now, says the Rebbe, now in our days is printed the Tanya in Braille. They said, by means of this, there's a whole new thing in spreading out Judaism and spreading out the the teachings of Chassidut, the Mayanot, the well springs. This is a whole new type of Jews, outside, a new type of outsiders, right? People were blind, they were outside of Torah, outside. Even though this Tanya didn't reach until all the Jewish people, we're talking about 30 years ago, that are relevant to this. Hari Etzem, and just the very fact that there is in the world such a thing as the Tanya, and it's in Braille. Right, the Tanya is the basic book of Chabad, right? You can look it up on the Gufa, this itself, maybe at the Mayan, this brings the well springs of Chassidut also to a new type of Jews that are outside, so to speak. And it gives the potential, gives the possibility that these well springs of Chassidut, there should be approachable also by those Jews that are found now in this state of blindness, that in their life will be a sheikh, as a connection to Torah, to Chassidut, to the teachings of Chassidut. Learning about the oneness of God. And especially this Tanya that's written in Braille. Already it reached my hands. And it's here in 770 where the Rebbe is speaking. A Beit Knesset, the place of prayer. Well, 770, it is a place of prayer, a place of learning, a place of good deeds. Shenimsa B'Dalet Almot, which is also in the place where the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe lived the last 10 years of his life. Be'eser Shanim Achronos, in the last 10 years of his life in this world. And the Kedusha Lo Zazam Makomo. The tzaddikim really never die. They never die. And maybe the best proof is every year about 500,000 Jews, in the day that Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai passed away, he's buried in Miron, about 500,000 Jews get there on that day. It's really amazing. This year they didn't because they've made all sorts. Anyway, not important. 500,000 Jews. The Israeli government decided they were going to step in and save the situation. So there was like 500,000 policemen there, and only 100,000 regular people. Okay. Which is this place 770. Remember, we learned, when was that? A few months ago, that 770 is the holy temple outside of Israel. It talks about in the Talmud. Where is it? In Tainit. That there is is it Tainit or Megillah? Oh, yeah, I forgot. Anyway, there's what's called a Beit Rabbeinu Shababavel. There's the holy temple outside of Israel. It says in the Talmud. It's not something we made up. And when the third temple is going to come from heaven, it'll go to this place first, and it'll fly together with all the synagogues in the world to Jerusalem. That's going to make a big impression on everybody, right? I don't know if CNN will how they're going to get around that one, but they won't be able to. I think, I don't know. Anyway, it'll be all over the world. Everyone will see the holy temple all of a sudden in Jerusalem. It says it's going to come to 770 first, and it's going to come. There's why? What's the big deal of 770? So it says there's a Beit Rabbeinu Shabbabav. There is a place in the world, a synagogue, from which Torah is spread out to the whole world, and Judaism is spread out to the whole world. And that's this place of the Rebbe, 770, even to this very day. Now it's even more than ever. Hamakar is the source of spreading out the well springs outward to all the edges of the world. When we have merited to draw down in this place of prayer, in this place of learning, in this place of doing good deeds, right? This Tanya in Braille, and also by means of making this for bringing and etc. Especially the service of God, of spreading out the well springs outward. And in addition, in a way of Mailim Kodesh, always increasing. Yesh Lausif, we can add on. Shakiv and Shesefer Tanya says this book of the Tanya is what's called the written Torah. It's what's called the 5 books of Moses, if you want to call it, of Chassidut, the basic book of Chassidut. The Tanya is also divided into 5 books. Hari move, and so it's understood that in this book, the Tanya, Kaluli and Kolin Yanim, the Mayinot, the Baal Shem Tov, there's included all of the ideas of the well springs of the Baal Shem Tov and Torah Chassidut, the ideas of Chassidut. Kafisha Torah Shebechtav, like the written Torah includes, right, the Chumash, the 5 books of Moses include all of the ideas which are expressed later in the Mishnah and the Talmud. There's nothing which is not hinted at in the Torah, the written Torah, and especially because we can say that the Tanya, which is the written Torah of Chassidut, Yesh no gam Torah Shabal Peh, also as the oral Torah of Chassidut. Okay, just listen. So maybe there's people that are listening to this that have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about. So just in order to just a little bit, make it a little bit clear, one of the essences of Judaism is to carry out what the promise that God made to Abraham. The promise that God made to Abraham. In fact, he changed his name, Abraham. When God gave Abraham the circumcision, as he gave him the land of Israel, and he also changed his name from Avram to Avraham. Avraham means the father of all mankind. Av Hamon Goyim. Rashi says it means of all mankind. So we're supposed to teach all mankind. The Jews are supposed to teach all mankind something. What? What are we supposed to teach all mankind? We're supposed to teach all mankind the ideas that are written in the Chassidut. If you look in the whole 5 books of Moses, you cannot understand what God is. God talked to Abraham. He created the world a long time ago. And now he's talking to people, to Abraham, and that's it. Right? And he gave all these commandments, told Abraham to circumcise himself. But according to the simple narrative of the Torah, God is somebody. He's one of the players. And Abraham and Isaac and Jacob and all these other people, they're the actors in this play. And the world is a stage. So there's several things. There's God, and then there's the world, and then there's people. There's all this division. That's the simple meaning, and everything comes out okay that way, right? Yeah, everything comes out. There's Judaism. You want to be a religious Jew, so you do what it says. So it comes out okay. But it's a lie. It's not so. What do you mean it's not so? Of course, it is so on a superficial level. God did create the world a long time ago, right? 5,780 years ago, 82 years ago. He did create the world, and Abraham, the world is separate, and Abraham is separate. But on the other hand, it's also not true. There's nothing except for God. The world is being created constantly by God. God is speaking to everyone. He's creating everyone for a purpose. This purpose is never ending. And it's the source of tremendous joy when a person feels his purpose, why he's here, why he's alive. This basically are the ideas that Hasidut came to bring to the world. Why we're here, what God is, how our existence and life depends totally on God. He's creating us all the time. How the Torah is the only instruction book for the world. How the rabbis are the holy of holies. They had the power to raise the dead. The rabbis in the Talmud. And how they're the only ones that can explain the Torah in a way that's really true and meaningful and and inspiring in a proper way. Okay, so that's the idea of taking the Tanya, which explains the importance of every human being, the oneness of God, the miracle that this whole world is, and how the Torah is even a greater miracle, and that every commandment we do and every mitzvah we do and every word of Torah is an atom bomb of godliness and good. That's what Chassidut teaches. Nice ideas to incorporate it inside of yourself. You have to do that yourself. But nevertheless, we have the presence of the Rebbe and the presence of all these tzaddikim to help us to incorporate it into ourselves. Okay, so the Tanya, says the Rebbe, has to be spread out all over the world. There's one group of people that did not receive this up now. This is the Rebbe's 30 years ago. And there's the blind people. We have to translate the Torah into Braille. Says the Rebbe, the fact is we are doing this, and I even have one of the books. I have the first Tanya book translated into Braille. And it's in this building, 7th Eastern Parkway. Here it is. So the Tanya includes in it all of the ideas of the Baal Shem Tov, all the ideas of Torah Chassidut that come afterwards. Just like the 5 books of Moses include in it all of the Talmud and all the Mishnah and all the ideas. There's nothing that's not hinted at in the 5 books of Moses. Well, the Tanya is the 5 books of Moses of Chabad. It's also called Torah Mashiach. The whole purpose of Chabad is to bring the Mashiach. Now, that's the whole purpose. That's the whole purpose of the creation of the world, is to bring Mashiach. Ubafrad, and especially we can say that the Tanya, which in the Tanya, which he said is the written Torah, there's also the oral Torah of Hasidut. The oral Torah, the explanations, are also in the written Torah. Chelek HaChamishi. Like I just finished saying before you fellows tuned in, if you look in the Torah, you can't really understand what God is. And Hasidut explains what God is and what God wants from us. How to love God, that's Kuntras Achron. In the Tanya, there's what's called Kuntras Achron. Kuntras Achron explains all these deep ideas. Something like the 5th book of that's the 5th book of the Tanya, is like the 5th book of Hasidut. Of the 5th book of the Torah is like the fifth book of the Tanya, Devarim, Deuteronomy. It's like the 5th book of the Tanya, and that's like Mishnah Torah. That's called Torah Shabbal Peh, Kuntus Achron. The main point is, in everything we said, behold, is that we need right now the Geula Amitit Veshlema, the true total redemption by means of the Mashiach Tzikenu B'Pol Mamash. The Mele, so therefore, Bein Im Ha'amur La'el, Yesh No Sheichas Lazeh, whether you happen to be a blind person listening to this, or you know somebody that's blind, they can use this Sefer Tanya, Bein Im Lav, Hari Aksha, but now, after we've already spread Chassidut and Judaism to all the corners of the world, it's clear that immediately we have to come to the future total redemption by means of Mashiach Tzikenu. That's what we need. Then there will be also the completion of refuah, healing to all the Jewish people. Also these Jews, blind Jews, like the rabbis say, La'atid lavo ha'ivrim mitrapim. In the future, the blind people will be healed. Shene'amar, like it says, Az tipakachna ene ivrim. There will be opened the eyes of the blind. V'yaterem izu, and even more, kishiyavu Kodesh Baruch Hu, when God comes to heal the world. Eino marapet techilo. It says even more, who does God heal first? The blind people. But often in a way, she'em nasin sagina, or in a way that they are made a plentiful light, a lot of light. Lamal Yusuf. In the Talmud, when referring to a blind person, they don't want to say that he's blind, that his world is black. He's got enough troubles. So they call him Sagi Nahor. Too much light. Sagi light. That's what the name is, Sagi Nahor. It's called, a blind person is called, bountiful light. That's the name. It says in the future, they really will have a lot of light. Yeshlem Riboy or Bapashus, they'll have a tremendous amount of light. But often it will not come from the spiritual light, which will not in any way detract from the physical light. But you'll see the world, but also you'll see the meaning, the godliness in the world. But Mela, therefore, they will have the possibility to read and to learn Torah, also with regular letters, just like everybody else. Well, and we can explain Sha'az then in the time of the future redemption. Lo Yitzrachu will not, you won't even have to have the written letters of the Torah. You won't even have to have those. Why? Kaven says Shekol B'nai Yisrael Yishma'u Torah, because Torah will be heard in the essence of the soul of every Jew from the essence of God. Like it says, Torah Chadasha Me'iti Teitzek, it says a new Torah will come from me. The Jews will feel the Torah in their essence. The commandments will come automatically in their essence. Al Yedei Talmud Votik Amiti, by means of who's going to do this? By means of the true Torah scholar Moses. Sheyilmat Kalam, he will teach all of the Jewish people the Torah, this new Torah. What does it mean, new Torah? The godliness of the Torah that they received in Mount Sinai. Everyone will feel it permanently from the Atzos Mazuso, from God's essence, with an extra purity and clarity. People will learn the Torah not just in a way of hearing and understanding, but in a way of seeing. Both in such a way you won't have to have letters at all. What it says, a person will not have to teach his friend, because everyone will know me. From the small to the big. How this is going to be, I have no idea, but it's going to be. Here we see. May it be God's will. Don't think this means that there's not going to be any Torah. There won't be any commandments. Everybody will just know to do what that God wants. Nothing, right? He doesn't want anything. Just do whatever he wants. God forbid. God forbid. It's a total. It's not so. All the Jews will do all the commandments. That's God's will. All the Jews will know what the Torah says, so they'll all say sentences. Yehiratzon may be God's will. Should take over miyad, and immediately, even in this moment, rega kodem agula, the moment before the future redemption, by means of learning the book of the Tanya. Al yadei zukukim lezeh, now. By means of those people who need it right now, namely the healing, God will heal them in such a way immediately. Or they will immediately be filled with light in a good way, in a true way. And they will learn, and they will read, and they will learn Torah. To the ultimate completion and learning the Torah and the future redemption. Torah Chadasha, a new Torah which will come from me, which will be the Torah which is carved in the heart of every Jew. And the main thing is a true, total redemption by means of Mashiach Tzidkenu immediately now. Very good. Now let's do the Yom Yom. Today there will be a class at 3 o'clock, and we'll learn the Haftorah, beautiful Haftorah from Isaiah, the second of the weeks of comfort. Activism means that when a Chassid is how do you actively spread Chassidut? That when a Chassid is in the marketplace, in business, he still thinks about what he can do for the welfare of the Chassidim and for spreading Chassidut. When he goes into a business acquaintance among the market people, he should, if it's a Jew, try to convince him to come to the public study sessions or to attend a Farbringen. Activism on the ways of Chassidut is a personal obligation, regardless of whether you are great, small, in knowledge of Chassidut. Everyone has to do something in order to encourage, to inspire, to draw another Jew to learn Chassidut and to judge. Yes, join. Tomorrow is a class. Friday, yes, of course. There's a class today at 3 o'clock, and there will be a class tomorrow at 8:15. Friday. Class tomorrow at 8:15. A beautiful sikh of the Rebbe about the desert. We'll talk about this tomorrow. But today there'll be a class 3 o'clock. Hope to see everyone. God bless you all. Have a good day with Moshiach now.
Amen.